Hi everyone, and welcome to our webinar Onboarding for New Users for Business and Enterprise Accounts. During today's webinar, we will mainly focus on your everyday work in Wrike and the way you can stay on top of everything that needs to be done, make your work efficient, and successfully collaborate with your team. What you will learn today. First, we will start with profile and email notification setup. Then, of course, understanding the sharing logics in Wrike, so private and shared folders, and how to make sure that this user sees exactly what he needs to see and the folder that you want to have private is actually private. Then, of course, how to collaborate with others on a task level. Task is your main working unit in Wrike, so I will touch upon all its attributes and how to collaborate by using Proofing and Approvals add-on and also Document Editor. And then finally, when you have incoming requests from the sales team or from a client or a partner, request form would help you to automate it and to always make sure that nothing is missed. And your admins most probably already did a really good job creating a list of request forms. And then finally, when you got all your requests, all your tasks, and how to make sure you are not getting lost, filtering and sorting will do great help here. And finally, your monitoring panel. That's where you keep everything up to date. That's how you can help yourself to prioritize and to create those widgets and monitoring panels that you need. So what are these? It's Inbox, where you have all most important notifications coming in. My Work, where you have all new assignments for today, this week, or next week. Dashboards, your dynamic monitoring tool, where you can create your own widgets, which will be always up to date. Reports, whenever you have some bottlenecks or you need to review large amount of work with your team or present it on one-on-ones with your manager, that's a place to go. And finally, Stream. Stream is your news feed in Wrike, where you can check on the most recent updates on everything that you follow or where you are an assignee of. And before we get started, let's first check our essential framework of Wrike that you might have heard already. First, folder. This is your main brick, your main container, how you can structurize, organize, and prioritize your work in Wrike. And color code would help you here for better visibility. And keep the logics clear. Whenever you start creating subfolders, make sure that you create them in an appropriate category, and also you use some naming convention that would help you in the future to grow your folder structure appropriately. Project is a type of a folder that has additional attributes to it. So first of all, it has this clipboard icon next to it to help you identify that that's a project. And it has start and finish dates. You can assign an owner or multiple owners. You can change a status. And remember, many tasks, one goal, meaning that in this project, only relevant tasks reside. And finally, task, your main working unit in Wrike. Keep a track of changes, get things done, and know who is in charge of this task. One task, one action, and preferably one assignee. In case you want to split it onto smaller phases and segmentate it or add any additional assignee, it's better to use subtasks. So let's move now to our workspace and see how that actually looks like. That is how my kingdom looks like. This is my main window, and before we go back here, first we would need to go to our profile settings. How to do so? You simply hover over to your profile picture, or you have your initials there. You click on View Profile, and you get redirected to your profile settings. That's where you can upload a picture. Well, it could be your own picture or something else that would help others to identify that this is you. So in my demo account, this is me, Agnes. So I have my last name and name here, also title and department. So that's all the info. It's up to you whether you would like to fill it in or not. But remember, since your team might be growing, of course, it's better to have an appropriate information there. And now, important part, settings, the time zone. We need to adjust time zone accordingly, because that is a timestamp that you're going to have on your all email notifications. Here you can select the language of the interface. So in case English is not your mother tongue, you can switch to any of this. So it could be French, it could be Italiano, or anything else. And finally, default date for a new task. So what is it? Whenever you create a task in Wrike, there are two options how this task will be created. By default, a new task can be created as a due today, so it would have already a default duration today. So what would it do? It means that this task will be on your widgets of all active tasks, and the next day it will be overdue and you will see it. But in case you want them to be kind of invisible, you can change them into backlogged. Backlogged task doesn't have any duration, so it will be sort of invisible task. You won't see them on any active task with any duration. So remember to hit on Save Changes and you're all set. Next, email notifications. Right now you can see that all the boxes here are unchecked. That's me. I've done this job for myself. But for you, most probably all the boxes will be checked. So let's quickly go through all the sections here. By default, Wrike will notify you about all the changes that are done to tasks where you are an assignee of. This is the first category over here. So if you find that you want to receive all these notifications, then leave all these boxes checked. And Wrike will remember your choice. So what changes does that include? Any changes made to date, assignee, or status, when description of a task is changed or file is attached, when somebody comments on the task without mentioning over here, and when the task is added or removed from a project or folder. The same type of notifications may be applied to tasks that you follow. What does it mean to follow? It means you can be shared on a folder, you can see all tasks, but you're not assignee of them. But let's say there are a few tasks that you would like to follow because that could be your team member or that is something important you would like to keep an eye on. So you simply click on the button follow, which I will show you later, and that's how you enable all these notifications. So you will be getting all of these notifications to your inbox. Of course, my personal suggestion would to leave out someone that mentions you or assigns you a task, and basically that's type of notifications you will always get in your Wrike inbox. But perhaps you would like also to have it in your email box. And finally, if you want to keep your mailbox clean, then I would suggest leaving out two types of daily emails. The one you might have in the morning, the set to-do list at 9 a.m. Well, you can select any time you want from here, either that would be AM or PM, and then send daily digest. What would include? It would include all the changes from all the sections above in one email. So all the changes that were done to descriptions, to any tasks, you will get them in a single email. And of course here it will be logical to have this email sent to you in the evening of each day. Great. So, and finally, calendar. Calendar is your work schedule. So here you can edit your work week in case it's not 5 days. So here you can select, for example, leave out only Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or in case you work on weekends. So we all have very different work days. That's a place where you can change it. And finally, whenever you think that you want to go on vacation, and for example, personally, I'll go on vacation in July, right? So I simply select all these days, let's say 2 weeks, and now I will click here, and you can select either that 2 weeks, 1 day, or less. So it's totally up to you. And you select which option you wish to apply. Extra work day, paid vacation, not paid vacation, sick leave, other, so others can see what type of leave you have. So let's say it's paid vacation. And you can also leave comments optional. And you hit on save. In case you have, and that's what we can see here, we have some tasks that were scheduled for these dates. So it suggests you new schedule, so it would reschedule all these tasks. So after you're back from your holiday, you would see all your to-dos. Or you can keep the due date in case you're planning to work during your vacation or your remote working days. So if you agree with this selection, with this choice, okay, you click OK, everything will be scheduled. Or, for example, once you think that you no longer require vacation, you can go ahead and delete it. So the task will be rescheduled again. Okay, so now my vacation is off. Too sad. So that means that we need to go back to work. That is my workspace. Most probably your admin has already done some really nice job and you already see some specific folders. Well, that's really great. And before we know where to go, how to work and everything, let's first check on a folder and a project. Right now here on the very top, you can see my personal project. How do I know that this is a project? Because right next to it, right here, there is a clipboard icon. And whenever I go to my personal, and this button is already enabled, so it shows me my project in the main view. This is your panel where you see either a task view, a folder view, or a project view. And here we can see all the settings, all the attributes that a project has that I mentioned before. Start date, finish date, and status. Status follows basically the traffic light logics. Green, red, yellow, and then completed, on hold, and cancelled. So whenever something is very urgent happening to this project, deadlines are approaching, or the project is already overdue, just mark it as red, and then you can see that it immediately changed into red. But it's green, and actually my personal, it's not even project. It's a folder. So how do I change it back to a folder? Very simple. Right click, rename, and from the drop down, change it onto a folder. Once it became a folder, you can see that the clipboard icon has disappeared. And now I also can see the folder statistics, which would be applied to the project as well. And then the same info button, but about a folder. So this is a folder information button, and you can see that all the attributes that project had, they disappeared. So in order to help you to prioritize and structurize your work in Wrike, let's touch upon some assistant folders first. So what are these? As you can see, I have section start. So how do I create it? Very simple. I start this folder. Right now, it's not start, I unstart it, so the section has disappeared. Whenever you have some folder that you wish to always see on top of things, because whenever I start expanding my folder tree, which would be huge, as you can see, I would need to star them. So, because, for example, banner ads request, this is my place where I work. So I need to always pin it and see on top. So how do I do that? First, I pin on top my personal folder by hovering over and starring it. And it jumped on the very top. The marketing one, creative, I'll put it on top as well. I started, and now this is my main section I want to work with. Cool. So, assistant folders. When I expand my personal, I have bookmarks, and I have my favorite one, getting things done. So that's how I get things done. Here I have two assistant folders, this month and to do today. But I highly advise having actually some few additional folders, or it's up to you which priority you wish to have for yourself. So I'll create a folder, and here I have a wizard that you can enable in your labs, which I'll show you slightly later, well, to get this nice feature. So I want to have folder, and the folder name would be my, well, actually we'll start my top 6. And I create this folder under getting things done. And I will also color code that. Remember I mentioned that folders, you can also color code them for better visibility? That's how you do it. Right click, color, and select any color you like. Well, I personally really like green. It is very nice color, so that means that all tasks that would reside here, that would have this green tag. So I can have my test task, for example. And whenever I go on the top level, I can see that there is a task because I want to show subfolders, and I would see that there is a test task in my top 6 folder. Nice. So once we created some assistant folders and how to tag using also this nice color coding folders. Very simple. So I collapse it all and I go to my creative. So here I have my banner ads request. And there are a lot of tasks, like really a lot. And I want to filter them out by assigned to me. So I simply go, I click on Agnes, and there is a very important task, National Geographic new magazine launch, which I need to work on very urgently. So I want to put them into my personal folder, my top 6, because this is my assistant folder, and this is how it helps me to prioritize all my jobs. So how do I do that? I simply drag and drop this folder onto the list view. This is one option, and you can see the tag immediately appear there. Or I can move it right to the plus as well. That's the second option. And the third option, by clicking on plus and start typing the name of the folder you wish to add this task to, my top 6. Let's say that all these tasks, they need to jump to my top 6 because this is my priority for today. So I will simply select all, and I will add them to my top 6. And once I click, here is a selection to move all these tasks or add. Of course, to add them, because I want all these tasks to reside in their original location, so I need to add a folder. I hit an add, and immediately this tag appeared to each of these tasks. So the next question is, I have my personal folder, right? I have created my assistant folders, for example, my top 6. And now I can see that all these tasks reside in my top 6. What does it mean? Who can see all these folders that I have created? That's how we learn about sharing. As I said, sharing in Wrike means access and visibility, and that is what is important to learn. So right now I'm in my top 6 folder, which resides in getting things done, and this belongs to my personal. So my personal, whenever I click on it, and we see folder statistics on the right, here we can see who this folder is shared with. So it is shared with myself and WrikeBot. Disregard WrikeBot is just your assistant in your Wrike account, and it doesn't mean anything. So just remember that there is a bot living in your account. The next place where I can see who this folder is shared, here I can see it is shared again with myself and WrikeBot, but I can remove the WrikeBot. Oops, not. Yes, that's right, because it's related with my requests. So this folder is currently shared with me, and that's all. Nobody else can see that. So what does it mean? It means that when, for example, one of my managers would go to banner ads request, and he would see that I have an overdue National Geographic with high importance, he will not see my top 6 folder. He will only see this original folder because he's shared in it. How do we know? Whenever we go on banner ads request and we click on this folder information panel and click on this icon, we can see who this folder is shared with. So it is shared with marketing team, it's shared with myself, it's shared with Daria, and it's shared with Matt. So that's how you can always check who this folder is shared with and how to share it as well. So moving next. In Wrike, sharing logic works top down. Top down, what does it mean? Here, there is a workflow that belongs to marketing folder. How do I know it? Because here, on the general folder tree, there is main workflow, marketing. And under marketing, there is request, inbox, creative, events, martcom, SEO, webinar, and custom demo folders. And this marketing folder is already shared with marketing team, as we can see right here, because admin decided that it would be best to create parent folders per each team and then share with user groups that was created per each team, right? So that means that he shared marketing folder with marketing team, and they have access to all its subfolders. So we can simply go through each of the subfolders and we can see that these folders are shared with the same people. That's how top-down works. However, let's say that creative folder could be shared with some additional person, but you don't want this user to see marketing folder. You only want this user to see creative. Let's say it's your intern. The intern who you are teaching and who you are mentoring. So you only want to grant access on creative folder level. So that would give him access to all the projects that you're currently running. How do we do that? Very simple. Either you go to this plus button, or you can go right click on creative and share it with an appropriate user, with my team or one of the groups, and you can also see who it is currently shared with. And finally, you can go to the folder information panel as usual, and you can click on this sharing icon. Or even one more awesome tool is add mentioning. Whenever I add mention, and let's say it's Joanna Flair, she is an intern and she's external user, and I say, hey, this is your main folder. Please take a look at all projects. And I add a smiley face. So once I add mentioned her, she got instantly shared, as you can see here, on this folder. So, and on top of that, she also received a notification to her inbox right there. So she knows that this is shared with her, and also she sees a card with a comment that I left on this folder. Cool, huh? So that is how you can share. You can share on the very top level, you can share on the subfolder level, and finally, let's say you have a partner, or a client that you're currently working on, and let's say National Geographic New Magazine. So right now it is shared with 5 people, as you can see here, and I want this task to be reviewed by our client. So I do the same way. I simply mention Emily Watson, who is a collaborator and she is our client, and I say, we have finished the main part. Please take a look, and any feedback is highly welcomed. And I had a smiley, of course, to make it more polite and nice. And now the same happened to this task, but this user, collaborator, Emily, she will not see any of these folders. So the only thing she is going to see in her account is going to be this task. So to sum it up, sharing in Wrike can be from the very master level to a very granular level. So you can go from the very top, then to any of subcategories, and then all its subcategories will be shared accordingly, or even to a task level. So very simple, and you can always control who can see what and make your collaboration very effective, and also to make sure that users see only appropriate information in their account. Great. So now let's move further. Now let's check how to collaborate on a task. Since I'm still residing in National Geographic New Magazine launch, let's look at this example. First, I will hide my folder tree from here so I have a bigger view on a task. And let's go from the very top. So here we have the title of a task, and we can set an importance of this task. What does it do? You simply click, and you can also set a normal importance, and there will be no button, but as soon as you hover over, you can see an exclamation point and select an importance. It will immediately create high importance category, normal importance category, and at the bottom, whenever you have low importance, you will have a low importance category. So what does it do? You simply can sort by importance. That's how it helps you to categorize and prioritize your list of tasks. Underneath of the title, we can see tags, folder tags. Here is a full path to banner ads request because it belongs to creative folder, and creative folder resides in marketing department folder, and it resides in departments. You can always delete the tag by hovering over the X. And then another tag, another location of this task is National Geographic, because this is client's folder. It is shared only with client, so they need to see this task. And my top 6, because I want this task to reside in my personal private folder, so this is my priority for today. And you can always remove these tags, color code them, or add any additional ones. That's how you can use tagging. Here are all the buttons. The star button, it means it's pinned to my work on your monitoring panel. And also it means that you're following this task because you're an assignee. Whenever there is a task you're not an assignee of, for example for a season, you see, none of these are pinned to my work because it's not your work, and neither you're following this task. So you can follow this task by simply clicking on button, and you will be aware of all changes done to this task. Moving next, here is permalink of the task whenever you want to copy paste it into another task so somebody would have a reference to this task. And email, so you can always email changes to this task. Let's say you got an email from a client and you simply copy paste it and send it to this task. And then also a menu of this task. So what you can do, you can make it recurrent, set importance, enter full screen in case you want or you love working in a full screen mode so nobody disturbs you. That's a way to go. And here you can see the status. And right now it changes required. So your admin in your account, since you're a business and enterprise plan, that means that your admin can create a custom workflow for you. And right now a marketing creative workflow is applied. And I selected the status reviewed. Next is me assignee, which I can remove. And here I can select from the date picker which dates I want to work on this task. Cool. So here I can also add a time entry. So let's say I'm constantly working on this task and I worked today, and let's say added some comments and spoke to a client, and you simply add an entry. So you always know what you did on this task and how exactly you worked in it. And you can also attach files from computer or any cloud storage we're integrating with, add a dependency, and double check who this task is shared with. And moving next, in case you want to split this task into multiple phases or categories, you can add a subtask right here. So you click on subtask and you can see that additional text review, so that is a minor phase of this task, and it has an additional assignee. So she's responsible for this minor tiny task and I'm responsible for the major one. And you can add as many ones as you want, but don't go too crazy, because each subtask would be seen by its assignee as an individual task on their to-do list. Now let's move to the description and how we can actually collaborate. I clicked on description field and I can see this toolbar over here. And I can always check who did what changes. Right now we can see that Agnes, she made all these changes, which are highlighted in pink. For example, this paragraph she added. Also, she made a typo. And Daria, she added all these paragraphs on this task. And here you can revise it all back. You can see which changes were done when and by who, and you can always restore to this version. But the latest version is up to date, so I don't want to restore it, and I keep it the way it is. Next option, how you can collaborate on a task. Remember I mentioned about proofing and approvals and document editor? That's the way to go. Right now, there are two attachments. There is an attachment National Geographic space, image file, which we're actively working on. And right now, when you click on this file, you can see how everybody contributed to this image file. So Agnes was commenting on it, and these comments were resolved. You can see that they're all crossed out, and she was mentioning each user as well. So right now, there are two comments waiting for review and approval. So whenever we click on this green square, of course it's red, we can see right now in comment section that Agnes, she commented on it, and she had mentioned N, so she needs to make this font sharper. So right now it's awaiting for her actions, and she got the instant message, so she is aware of any changes. And on a green button, we asked Bob to change the color into white. So whenever you want to add something, for example, you want to draw something, for example, you really like or you want to point at something. Let's say you want to point at the circle. Select a color so it is easier to distinguish. Mention a relevant person, for example, Anne, and say or ask, isn't it too small? And hit on enter. So now there will be 3 main comments waiting for action. Once somebody makes any changes, you hit resolve, and this comment will be crossed out, and it will be grayed out. That means that everything was completed. This is a really great tool to work on image files, on PDF files, and to read more. You just please go to our help center, type in proofing or approvals, and you will get dedicated articles. Moving next, right now this file is in review. Anne is reviewer, and you can always add additional reviewers. You can add Amanda, and you can also set the due date when they need to review this file. So let's say we postpone it to Friday. And now, not in review National Geographic. If you want to add a review, you can do so, or you simply add a version. Whenever I right click on this file, I can see the history, version 3 to 1. So whenever you go to the version 1, you see its original, how it looked when it was for the first time uploaded, and version 3 would be its latest version. You can also go to the history in a comment section and see all the changes that were done to this task, to its attachments, all the comments on the proofing and approvals, and you can see, please make it sharper and Voyager. The same comments are written over here. And also you can see for more updates. So the same with the files. You can see original file, the first version uploaded, and you even can go to the latest version uploaded. Very nice and neat in order to keep an eye and stay on top of all the changes and to make sure your collaboration with your team is successful and nobody's missing a thing. So whenever everything is ready, or you're at the final stage, let's mention some of our colleagues. Let's mention Joanne, she's our intern, and let's say, hey, take a look at our main working process. Feel free to come back with some questions. Good luck. So this task is almost ready to be submitted to a client. So whenever we add any comment, let's say client is Emily, she is our collaborator, and we are almost done here. So any feedback is highly welcomed. And we submit this comment and she gets it into her inbox. And because she is shared on National Geographic folder and this task resides also in this folder, she will get access to this task. Fantastic! Now that we know how to collaborate on a task, how do we get them automatically submitted? Well, request forms, remember I mentioned those? Click on the green button on top and you can see request line here. So these are all the requests that our admins created in their account. So there is also a description and my main request, banner add request. So it is also available for our clients whenever our sales, they paste a link. And let's say Wrike needs a new banner. They would select the package medium, they would choose file, so they would attach a mockup. So they would attach this image file, and also they make sure to mark the deadline when the delivering final date should happen and submit. Once the request is submitted, and right now I submitted this request, so let's say they came to me and I need to make sure that everybody knows that there is a new request. And since I work on it, I will assign it to myself immediately. So now I'm an assignee of this request. It has its title, and it already automatically resides in this folder. And it's new. So the question is, let's say you have constant income flow of all the projects. How do you keep an eye on all of them? That's how we are going to go to our favorite dashboard and panel monitoring tool. So we remember that this is a new task that came. So that's how we are going to use dashboards. First of all, we go to creative folder, creative workflow. So we have a lot of tasks and we need to make sure that we can find all of them that are assigned to you. So what I'm going to do, I will use filters. Whenever I go to any folder and it's right now highlighted in blue, that means I'm located in this folder. I make sure that I see all the subfolders. I click on three-dot button and I can see that hide subfolders. That means that show subfolders is enabled. And also by seeing tags, that means that these tasks, they reside in these folders. And now this blue bar over here on top, it shows default filters that I applied. Right now it shows all active statuses assigned to all, and there is a funnel button which would show you advanced filtering option. So I will hide my folder menu so I get a better image of all these. And now I need to see only new tasks because there is a lot of requests coming and I need to keep an eye on all of them. So I simply deselect all active and instead I go to my marketing creative workflow and I apply new status only. And now I only need to see tasks that are assigned to myself. I select myself. Great! It seems that it's summer and I have only one task that landed to me. So right now it's sorted by importance, but I want to sort it by priority, so I can always drag and drop them accordingly. But let me add a few more tasks to this list so it would be better to show. So I will assign this one also to myself. And let's say Softcat, I will also assign it. I will assign it from her and I will assign it to myself. So now I click on the filter again. I will assign myself. I assign myself to these tasks and I will see them. So let's say these are all new tasks that are brand new and I immediately need to start working on them. So what do? I simply click on three-dot button add to dashboard, and I have my personal Agnes private. But I also have my banners. So I will actually go to banners and I will type in my new banners and add to dashboard. Whenever I go now to dashboards, the dynamic monitoring panel, remember, I go to banners and I can see the widgets that are here. And this is the one that I have created, my new banners. Let's say now I realize that actually banners, that is shared with designers, and actually this is my personal widget. How do I include it into my own personal dashboard? Very easy. Here is my private dashboard. How do I know it? Because it is shared only with me. I click on gear icon and the widget that I created, it will be populated on this list. So I drop down and I see all the widgets that we have. And I simply add my new banners. Now I can see that I have a widget with all new banners that I have. Fantastic. How about I need to add them to my top 6? Very easy. Top 6 is your assistant folder that you might consider having on a daily basis. So what I will do, I simply create my top 6 widget. So I always review that on daily basis. I modify this list accordingly. So I know that these are my tasks for today and I personally selected them. So all the filters I remain the same. And all I do is simply add to dashboards, Agnes private, my top 6. It picks the name from the folder where you're creating this widget from. And I click add to dashboard. I go to my dashboard and my favorite top 6 widget is created. So let's say I want to add this banner ad request to my top 6. And by simply dragging and dropping, I added this task to my top 6. So, and you can see it immediately got my top 6 tag on this task. So I always can monitor this widget and I can always drag and drop and add any widgets that I want and work this way by dragging and dropping like on a Kanban or anything what you find more suitable for your environment. Great! Now that we know how to use dashboards, the dynamic monitoring tool, let's go back to our monitoring panel over here. So, Inbox. Inbox, as I mentioned, would always have new assignments, folders that are shared with you, and also all at mentions. So it keeps only most important cards for you. And you can either mark them all red or archive them all. And whenever you click on a card, you can check all the details or what this card is about and open task list of a folder that was shared with you. Very good. Now next, my work. My work, as I mentioned, is half monitoring panel. Why? Because by default it has 3 categories: today, this week, and next week. And of course later, but it's not related to any dates, so it is a separate section. Why half automated? By default, first, all the tasks that were scheduled for today and are assigned to you will land into your today's section. And also all overdue tasks. You can also drag and drop them between so you can reset their sorting. And once you move a task, for example, Ryanair, from today's to this week's section, my work will remember your choice, and this task will remain in this section for good, regardless of the date changes that are done to this task. We can even move it for today, and it will still remain in this week. For some users, it's extremely comfortable because they play around with tasks with categories, and they know how exactly and what they did, and that's a good way for them to stay on top of things. And all the blue cards that you have over here, that means that there are new tasks that you didn't yet check. So that's how you can work with my work. And as I already spoken about dashboards, that is a more automated way of monitoring all your tasks. So you can create any sort of widgets you want from all type of folders, and you can also drag and drop them. How drag and drop works? It will simply reapply filters from the new widget. So right now they reside in creative, they have new status and they are assigned to me. And here they're assigned to all active in my top. So only my top basically varies. So this new task, it only applied a new filter, my top. So it's up to you. Feel free to play around to check what happens to a task when you drag and drop and when you create different filters. And you can also change statuses. So for example, if we have widget with new status, and here we have status, let's say, waiting for review, then this task, when it's moved to this widget, it will change a status to in progress or waiting for review, depending on which status is applied to a widget. Great. And reports. Let's say you always need to stay on top of your all overdues. You can either already use pre-existing templates used for reports or new report from the scratch. So let's say I will call them my overdues, or even better, creative overdues, to see where are our bottlenecks. And there are three options. You can select projects, because also in creative, as you can see, we're working with we are working with projects, so I need to make sure that they all have clipboard icons. So, and in this case, I would need to go to another location. Tasks, that means you select any, and in my case, I would select my creative folder because I want to see tasks. That's how we work, because all the requests, they land as tasks. So what do? I simply go to my best team structures, departments, marketing, and I select creative folder. Since creative folder has already its own subcategories, they will be all selected. So I will get tasks from only these folders. I don't need to specify any workflow, but I need to see all active. Assignee, I can see all of them. So only next thing that I need to view is the tasks that to do and that are overdue. You can also apply any other filters. The task type, the due date if you want to see due date, start date, last modified date, etc. And I want to see them in a table view. You can also add a grouping, which grouping you wish to have, by assignee, by author, by importance, parent folder, and you can also add a grouping when you already have a ready report. Now save and view. So now this report will have all the data. Well, that's the view. Now I actually want to have it more compact, so I simply disable wrap text. Now I click on your icon and I will hide my folder tree. I click on your icon and I deselect a few columns because I don't need to see them. I don't need to see status group, and nor I want to see duration, nor I need to see start date. I only need to see overdue and when is the due date. So that's all I need to see. And we can see that due date was yesterday. They're all active. Some are even new and overdue. And I can sort them accordingly. Active and new in progress review to go. And I can see assignee and a task itself. So let's say with your team, you want to go through this report every Friday to see why we are running out of time and why we have such a bottleneck. Is it because we lack some additional team members? Just simply subscribe to this report for Friday, and either in the morning or in somewhere during the day, so you go quickly review this report. So what would it do? On every Friday at the time that you have specified on subscribe button, you will get an email and all the team members who subscribe to this report as well, and you can also share it with anyone. So let's say you want to share it with designers. So you share it with designers, they will subscribe to it, and on every Friday you will get a link with this up-to-date report and go through all the overdue list. And remember, it's always up to date, so you don't have to go and create it from the scratch. Cool. And finally, Stream. Stream, simply, it's like your newsfeed on social media. It will show you all the recent updates of anything that you follow or only assigned to you. So whenever everything is assigned to you, you will see all the changes done in the Stream section. So that's pretty much it. And Remember, you are not alone. I know it was an overload of information, and feel free to click on Ask the Expert registration link after the presentation. Also, feel free to check on any of the features that we discussed today on our Help Center. And remember, our support team that is available 24/7 is always there to ask all your questions and to make sure that you're successfully using Wrike. And also, all our users are sharing their ideas and community and their best practices. So feel free to use of any of these resources and to make sure to attend one of Ask the Expert sessions where all the sessions are more customized and very specific. So thank you very much for watching this webinar, and I hope to see you soon.